I want to take you now to New York City. The president there at, this is Lehman College, and an event launching what's known as My Brother's Keeper Alliance. And the president just introduced there, and we'll listen in for a bit.
We've seen in places like Baltimore and Ferguson and right here in New York. The catalyst of those protests were the tragic deaths of young men and a feeling that law is not always applied evenly in this country. In too many places in this country, black boys and black men, Latino boys, Latino men, they experience being treated differently by law enforcement in stops and in arrests and in charges and incarcerations. The statistics are clear, up and down the criminal justice system. There's no dispute. That's why one of the many things we did to address these issues was to put together a task force on community policing. And this task force was made up of law enforcement and of community activists, including some who had led protests in Ferguson, some who had led protests here in New York, young people whose voices needed to be heard. And what was remarkable was law enforcement and police chiefs and sheriffs and county officials working with these young people, they came up with concrete proposals that, if implemented, would rebuild trust and help law enforcement officers do their jobs even better and keep them and their communities even safer. And what was clear from this task force was the recognition that the overwhelming majority of police officers are good and honest and fair and care deeply about their communities, and they put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe. And their loved ones wait and worry until they come through that door at the end of their shift. As many of you know, New York's finest lost one of its own today, Officer Brian Moore, who was shot in the line of duty on Saturday night, passed away earlier today. He came from a family of police officers, and the family of fellow officers he joined in the NYPD and across the country deserve our gratitude and our prayers, not just today, but every day. They've got a tough job. Which is why, in addressing the issues in Baltimore or Ferguson or New York, the point I made was that if we're just looking at policing, we're looking at it too narrowly. If we ask the police to simply contain and control problems that we ourselves have been unwilling to invest and solve, that's not fair to the communities, it's not fair to the police. What we gathered here to talk about today is something that goes deeper than policing. It speaks to who we are as a nation and what we're willing to do to make sure that equality of opportunity is not an empty word. Across the country and in parts of New York, in parts of New Jersey, in parts of my hometown in Chicago, there are communities that don't have enough jobs, don't have enough investment, don't have enough opportunity. You got communities with 30 or 40 or 50% unemployment. They've been struggling long before the economic crisis of 2007, 2008. Communities without enough role models. Communities where too many men who could otherwise be leaders, who could provide guidance for young people, who could be good fathers and good neighbors and good fellow citizens, are languishing in prison over minor, nonviolent drug offenses. Now, there's no shortage of people telling you who and what is to blame for the plight of these communities. But I'm not interested in blame. I'm interested in responsibility, and I'm interested in results. And that's why we've partnered with cities to get more kids access to quality early childhood education, no matter who they are or where they're born. That's why we've partnered with cities to create promise zones, to give a booster shot to opportunity. That's why we've invested in ideas from support for new moms to summer jobs for young people to helping more young people afford a college education. And that's why, over a year ago, we launched something we call My Brother's Keeper. an initiative to address those persistent opportunity gaps and ensure that all of our young people, but particularly young men of color, have a chance to go as far as their dreams will take them. It's an idea that we pursued in the wake of Trayvon Martin's death because we wanted it, the message sent from the White House in a sustained way, that his life mattered, that the lives of the young men who are here today matter, that we care about your future, not just sometimes, but all the time. In every community in America, there are young people with incredible drive and talent, and they just don't have the same kinds of chances that somebody like me had. They're just as talented as me, just as smart. They don't get a chance. And because everyone has a part to play in this process, we brought everybody together. We brought business leaders and faith leaders, mayors, philanthropists, educators, entrepreneurs, athletes, musicians, actors, all united around the simple idea of giving all our young people the tools they need to achieve their full potential. And we were determined not to just do a feel-good exercise, to write a report that nobody would read, you know, to do some announcement, and then once the TV cameras had gone away and, you know, there weren't protests or riots, then somehow we went back to business as usual. We wanted something sustained. And for more than a year, we've been working with experts to identify some of the key milestones that matter most in every young person's life, from whether they enter school ready to learn, to whether they graduate ready for a career. Are they getting suspended in school? Can we intervene there? Are they in danger of falling into the criminal justice system? Can we catch them before they do? Key indicators that we know will make a difference. If a child's reading by the 3rd grade at grade level, we know they've got a chance of doing better. If they aren't involved with the criminal justice system and aren't suspended while they're in school, we know they've got a chance of doing better. So there's certain things that we knew would make a difference. And we've looked at which programs and policies actually work in intervening at those key periods. Early childhood education works. Job apprenticeship programs work. Certain mentoring programs work. And we've identified which strategies make a difference in the lives of young people, like mentoring or violence prevention and intervention. And because we knew this couldn't be the work of just the federal government, we challenged every community in the country, big cities, small towns, rural counties, tribal nations, to publicly commit to implementing strategies to help all young people succeed. And as a result, we've already got more than 200 communities across the country who are focused on this issue. They're on board and they're doing great work. They're sharing best practices. They're sharing ideas. All of this has happened just in the last year. And the response we've gotten in such a short amount of time, the enthusiasm and the passion we've seen from folks all around the country, proves how much people care about this. You know, sometimes politics may be cynical. The debate in Washington may be cynical, but when you get in the ground and you talk to folks, folks care about this. They know that how well we do as a nation depends on whether our young people are succeeding. That's our future workforce. They know that if you've got African American or Latino men here in New York who, instead of going to jail or going to college, those are going to be taxpayers. They're going to help build our communities. They will make our communities safer. They aren't part of the problem. They're potentially part of the solution if we treat them as such. So we've made enormous progress over the last year, but today, after months of great work on the part of a whole lot of people, we're taking another step forward with people from the private sector coming together in a big way. We're here for the launch of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, which is a new nonprofit organization of private sector organizations and companies that have committed themselves to continue the work of opening doors for young people, all our young people, long after I've left office. It's a big deal. I want to thank the former CEO of Deloitte, Joe Echeverria, who's been involved for a long time. He has taken the lead on this alliance. Joe, stand up. You've done an incredible job. Just like the My Brother's Keeper overall effort that we launched last year, Joe and My Brother's Keepers Alliance, they're all about getting results. They've set clear goals to hold themselves accountable for getting those results. Doubling the percentage of boys and young men of color who read at grade level by the 3rd grade. Increasing their high school.
We're going to take our lead from the president.